Hello everybody, welcome to the Generic Cappy YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. I am Generic Cappy, and in today's video we will be talking about the upcoming Nintendo Direct. This Nintendo Direct, probably by the time this video goes up, will be airing in just a couple of hours. It is a Nintendo Direct on February 8th, 2023. It's airing in the Americas at 2 p.m. PT and 5 p.m. ET, so obviously you can probably do the conversions based on that. And yeah, this Direct does promise to have a lot technically, I guess. I mean, I have a whole list of the stuff that they've already announced, from like previous Directs or, in just generally, I guess. That is a big list of things. So, there's a lot of things they can talk about for this year. There's a lot of things that are rumored to be, existing in Nintendo's headquarters somewhere. And there's obviously some predictions for tomorrow's Direct, or today's Direct, February 8th, 2023. Normally these Directs are pretty big when they're in February, so there's a lot of things that they can show off. I mean, last year they showed off Nintendo Switch Sports, they showed off Mario Strikers Battle League, they showed off Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and they showed Fire Emblem Three Hopes, and that's just Fire Emblem Warriors Three Hopes. And that's just on the first party side. Obviously there's always a bunch of third party games that they show off. And yeah, so there's obviously, loads that they still have to talk about. Obviously there's games like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 that's getting DLC in, this year. Well, it's already started getting DLC, but it's getting like its larger expansion this year. Splatoon 3 is getting its DLC, and then obviously we have games like The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom that is probably going to show up in this Nintendo Direct. Technically, even though they've already talked about a lot of this stuff, and announced a lot of it, that's not guaranteed. There's like no guarantee that all of it will show up. Obviously we could have other Directs. Maybe we have a Tears of the Kingdom Direct in the near future, but obviously I'm getting a little too ahead of myself, just trying to introduce. But yeah, if you all have any predictions of like your own and that I don't talk about in this video, make sure you comment down below. We can try to make this like a discussion. But yeah, we can get right into well, actually this video is split up in like two different parts. The first part, so maybe the first half, maybe the first quarter, depending on how much is each section. We'll have the known projects and known games, and that includes obviously known games, known DLC, as well as the Mario movie and Super Nintendo World. And I'll basically just be saying if I think they're gonna show up and what they'll show off in those in those sections if they do show up in Nintendo Direct. And then we also have the other section of the video is going to be predictions and rumored games. Technically they're both the same because technically I will be predicting that some of these rumored games will show up in this Nintendo Direct. But I mean, some of these games I'm pretty sure you've all heard talked about a lot. One game in particular, it's been around for years now on the rumor mill, so maybe it shows up this year, maybe it doesn't. But yeah, so I'll get right into the first part, and yeah, so known games and known projects. So when it comes to known games and known projects, obviously there is a lot out there. As I mentioned earlier, I have actually on this list more known games than predictions, so I guess I'll kind of be winging it for predictions. I mean, I have a couple of games I want to see, but obviously, there's a lot of predictions that can be made. We're not there yet, so obviously the biggest thing that I think a lot of people are anticipating for this Direct, that's known, is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Are we going to get a new trailer? Are we going to see new actual gameplay from the game, in engine, probably like a video? I mean, it'd probably be like a trailer with, cutscenes and in-engine gameplay. And I do think that we will be getting The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, some trailer of some kind. Obviously, we all remember the January 2017 Nintendo Switch presentation trailer. That's, probably one of the best game trailers of all time. So it'll probably be hard to match that, but I do think we'll probably get a Tears of the Kingdom trailer tomorrow. We'll probably see, all of the, Link, Zelda, maybe Ganon, Calamity Ganon, to a certain extent. We'll probably see a little bit more of the plot, because they haven't really revealed much of that yet. Obviously, you know, there's a lot that can be shown off in a trailer like that. Um, that first, I mean, the Breath of the Wild final trailer didn't really show a lot. It revealed some plot details, and it was the biggest trailer, but there was still a lot of mystery going into the game. Um, you know, or there's also another opportunity for this game, for this direct, and it could be mentioned, and then they say that they're going to be holding another direct in the near future, and that could be where we get this big trailer. But I do think even if that happens, we probably at least see, maybe some screenshots from the game, um, maybe some in-engine gameplay. Maybe they say that there's gonna be a treehouse at some point, this month, and then there's gonna be a direct next month, or vice versa. But yeah, I do think we'll at least hear the words Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom at some point in the Nintendo Direct. The next game is Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. Obviously, this game has been delayed indefinitely, according to Nintendo, because of the ongoing conflict. But there has been, some stuff that's been happening around the game. Obviously, more the pre-orders have been coming back up, based on, from retailers. There's obviously been some, I think, eShop, data mining where they've seen that recently both Tears of the Kingdom and Advance Wars got some updates to like their listing. So I think if Tears of the Kingdom is going to show up, Advance Wars 1+2 or Boot Camp is also going to show up. We probably get a release date. I personally don't think it's going to be a shadow drop. I know a lot of people have been talking about it being a shadow drop. I think they still probably want to sell a physical edition of the game. So unless they like shadow drop it that day, and then they have like the next day the copies are available, like if you want to pick it up physically, I think that is a logistics issue. So I think we'll probably see it in April. I know a lot of people have been talking about how April is the 1 month in the first half of the year that does not have a game, and I guess technically June, but we'll get to June. And they did say this direct is primarily focused on the first half of the year. So, I think April does work. April was the original release date last year for Advance Wars before it got delayed. So, maybe April, I think last year was April 8th. So this year is probably April 7th, but that's also when the Mario movie comes out. So it would be like April 14th. I don't think those two would take away from each other. Well, the Mario movie would probably take away from Advance Wars, but Advance Wars probably would not take away from the Mario movie. So maybe April 14th, if I had to make a guess on the release date for that. We do have one game that is dated for Nintendo. Well, we have two, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, May 12th. But we do have another game that is coming out very soon, and it's the only other dated first-party game besides Bayonetta Origins, which we'll most definitely also see in this direct. I don't know what they're going to show off in that trailer, but we'll most definitely see Bayonetta Origins at some point, just because it's all coming out in a month. Nintendo's publishing it, so on and so forth. It's still a big franchise, I believe, but the other game is Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. I know there's been some speculation and I think some images from the back of the box art that talks about like extra content that they haven't talked about yet. So obviously this would be a good time to talk about that content. A new trailer, a new marketing, something like that. It doesn't even have to be a big trailer, I guess. They could just do it in like one of the headlines. I think that'd be pretty cool. It is coming out this month, so this would be like a one last marketing push, a big marketing push for it. But yeah, I do think it's gonna show up. Out of all these like known game naming projects, this probably has like the highest chance of showing up, just because it is coming out very soon. I guess it and Bayonetta Origins, and then obviously some third-party games like Octopath. But any games I think coming out this month, next month, or in April, first party and third party wise, I think they have a good chance of showing up in this direct, and that obviously includes Kirby's Return to Dreamland. And we'll probably see like the extra content that everyone was talking about, but they probably are keeping some stuff secret, or a secret, either for this trailer for when people play the game in a couple weeks. We do have two other games that are on Nintendo's release schedule, first party wise, um, in-house first party, and that is Pikmin 4 and Metroid Prime 4. We got two 4s there, so maybe this is the year of the 4s. But I do think Pikmin 4 does come out this year, so I do think it does get a trailer in this direct. I do think it's probably a summer game. It might be like July or August. And I think if they were to do another Nintendo Direct in like June, it might be a little too late to date the game, because it probably will be one of the bigger games for their second half. So, though, again, they did also announce Metroid Dread in like the E3 2021 Direct, and they released it in October. So it's, they released a trailer for this game. And during this Nintendo Direct, they give maybe a season for when it releases. I think that's fine, but I think we see it here. But I think that is the last game, first party wise, that's been announced that we do see here. I do not think we see Metroid Prime 4. I do think that is a bigger game. You'd want to have it like in a direct that's probably after Tears of the Kingdom. Obviously, both of them probably won't take away from each other. There's probably different fan bases, and then obviously if you're a Nintendo fan, you more than likely will get both at some point. But I think Metroid Prime 4, they did reboot it 4 years ago at this point, more than 4 years now. So it probably does have something that they can show. And if it does show up, I don't think it's going to get like the middle section. I think it's either going to be the opener or the closer of the direct. Because it's too big to not, to just like let it just be in the middle. If anything, I think Tears of the Kingdom will be in the middle, if I had to make like a guess on that. But I think Metroid Prime 4 does not show up. If it does, that'll be really cool. There is the rumor of the other Metroid game for the year, or for like releasing eventually. So I guess technically if that shows up, and I'll bring that up later, but technically I guess if that shows up, they probably at least have to mention Metroid Prime 4 at some point. But yeah, I think more than likely if that Metroid game does show up, like the Metroid remake does show up in this direct, that gets like the main focus, and then maybe we just get a mention in Metroid Prime 4. Besides that, we do have a lot of DLCs, that they've announced for games that released last year, and then one game that released 6 years ago. But I think out of all the DLCs, we probably see the Mario Kart DLC the most. Or not the most, but it's the most likely that we see the Mario Kart DLC this year, or in this Nintendo Direct, just because I do think it's probably out next month. At least, obviously not all of it. Pack 4 is out next month. I don't really have any predictions of the courses we'll see in that, but I do think we'll probably see maybe 2 or 3 courses. If they want to show all 8, I guess they can, but in the last Nintendo Direct, they did show off, I think, 1 or 2 courses. And they showed off like it's going to be, it's going to be like matching with the holidays, with that one like Christmassy course. So, maybe if they have a spring course they want to add. They already use Peach Gardens technically, so I guess technically there's probably other Mario Kart courses out there that they can use. Maybe one of the Mario circuits, or I like that beginning stage from Mario Kart DS. Or the first course, Mario Kart DS. That'd be a pretty cool addition. It's a pretty simple one, but I do like it. So maybe that's something they add in this one. But I think out of all the DLCs, this one has the most likelihood of showing up. And then following that, I think Xenoblade Chronicles 3's DLC. I think the second, or it's gonna be the third pack in the DLC. I think that probably shows up, and then maybe they tease what the story DLC would be in a couple, maybe like a little teaser at the end of that trailer, or like whatever segment they do for Xenoblade Chronicles. I think that has a chance, but I do think at least Wave 3 is shown during this direct at some point. And yeah, I don't really have predictions for that either. Well, there's not really a lot you can predict. I know it's gonna have like a new blade or like a new character you can. That's obviously gonna be added to the game. That you can probably add to your party. But besides that, obviously, like a lot of these DLCs, they haven't really talked about that much yet. So there's not really a lot you can predict in that sense. Um, and then we do have Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope Season Pass. Um, they probably mention it here. I don't know how much they go into it because um, I don't think they didn't. Yeah, obviously it is Mario, but they didn't publish or develop the game, so I'm not really sure. I mean, they probably got like IP like money from like Ubisoft using Mario, but I don't know how big of a game that is for them, in terms of like financially. So maybe they get like maybe they probably just give it a trailer. Maybe they tease Rayman again. That Rayman's gonna be like the big DLC like pack character. But again, that could probably get a trailer. I think the last there's only two other DLCs I believe that's confirmed. That's for games that are getting DLC, and that's Splatoon 3. I do think we see the paid expansion. I think it's probably gonna come out this spring, or maybe during the summer. So give it a teaser trailer. Show off what it looks like. If it's like the Octo expansion, talk about that a little bit. But I think we see that, and then Fire Emblem Engage's DLC. They just released the game just came out, and the first pack came out with it. So they don't necessarily need to talk about that DLC right now. But I think if you talk about every other DLC that's coming out this year, you probably want to talk about that one. Maybe you just give it a little shout out. Maybe you talk about all the DLCs in like one segment, or like maybe the Fire Emblem, Xenoblade Chronicles, and the Mario and Rabbids get like their own like one section just for their DLCs, or like all together in one section, and then Splatoon 3 gets like its own, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe gets its like own. So I think that's how they could do it. It's very likely that probably all of these don't show up, but I think at least 2 or 3 of them are. And then the last 2 projects that we know about that's coming out from Nintendo are not games, or at least I remember. These are the ones I remember. There's probably other DLCs that are being released at some point for like games, but these are the most prominent ones. But besides that, the 2 projects are the Mario movie and Super Nintendo World. And I do not think we see either of those in this direct. They've been doing Mario movie directs, to show off trailers and like get cast interviews, or like to allow the cast to speak to the people are gonna want the fans. But I think I don't know how the reception was when they showed off the castings in the September 2021 direct. So I don't know if that's something they want to do again. Obviously, maybe they have a clip or something, but I don't think it's likely that we see the movie. I think they would probably just do another Mario movie direct that works specifically for that audience. And obviously, a lot of the people that do watch these directs probably are also watching the Mario movie directs, like myself. But I do think it's more likely that they would probably just do a direct on its own for the Mario movie. In the Super Nintendo World, it's like the same situation. They did like one Super Nintendo World direct, and I don't think they've mentioned the Super Nintendo Worlds in like any of these directs. Obviously, they are opening more. They are opening the one in California this month. The one in Orlando is opening in I think 2025. So obviously they could talk about it, but I don't think it's something that's prominent. I don't think it's something that's needed for this direct, unless they obviously maybe want to advertise a little bit. But they don't have to talk about it, I guess. But yeah, and then obviously there's a lot of third parties, as I mentioned earlier, that we have games like announced for. We have Octopath Traveler 2. I think Tales of Symphonia is getting its remaster on Switch this month. A lot of them are coming out this month. Octopath's coming out this month. Tales of Symphonia remasters coming out this month. Kirby's coming out this month. And then we got Bayonetta in March. And I think Midnight Suns also is coming out on the Switch eventually. So all those can get shoutouts in this direct at some point. I don't really know what the third-party offerings in this direct will be because, as we've seen in recent years, the third-party, obviously a lot of third parties are still trying to put their games on Switch, but they're not always the best versions on Switch. So, maybe a couple third parties considered putting it, didn't put it, or something like that. But I don't know what the offerings are. We might see a lot of indie games in this direct. Technically, I didn't talk about Silksong. Silksong could get a trailer here. It could be shadow dropped. I know that's I think they shadow dropped the first one on Switch, so it wouldn't like be outside the realm of possibilities. But I think I think Silicon could show up, but out of like all of like, the third parties, I don't. Silksong probably is like one of the lower ones in terms of like being able to show up and then like a Nintendo Direct. But yeah, oh, well, and this Nintendo Direct. If they do a Nintendo Direct in June, it's probably more likely it shows up in that if it's not out by then. But yeah, so that's all that I have for known games and known projects. So the rest of this video from this point will be predictions and talking about rumored games that will be possibly showing up this Nintendo Direct. At least 2 of these games, or like one game and like a collection of games, has been rumored for like 4 years now, as I mentioned earlier. So, I think it's time if those are real to show up. But you know what? I'll stop. We'll just get right into that section as well. So yeah, technically we have those things that will. I'm hoping they show up. I'm hoping at least 4 or 5 of them show up in this Direct. And there's like 11 or 12, so we get 33, or we get 33 to 50% of those things. That'd be great. But there's also these Directs usually have some surprises in them. As I mentioned earlier with the February Direct, we had, or last year we had like 4 new new project announcements. I don't think we'll get that many in this February Direct. I think that was a little bit more than we usually would get. But there's also, those are also kind of big too. So, anyways, the first one I just want to talk about is because technically I already alluded to it, and that is the Metroid Prime 1 remake. I think it will show up in this Direct, and that's why I think that there's a chance Metroid Prime 4 is at least talked about. But obviously, that could just be a mention. They did the same thing with like Skyward Sword and now named Tears of the Kingdom, where they just said, we're not ready to show something off yet, so just please wait a little bit longer, but we do have this. And I think that could be how Metroid Prime 4 is mentioned, but I do think the Metroid Prime 1 remake is real. We probably will see. It's probably coming out this year. This year is probably Metroid Prime 1, and then next year is maybe Metroid Prime 4. But yeah, simple things. There's been a lot of discussion if it's a remake or a remaster, because obviously we haven't seen it yet. But so it could be like a HD remaster with like new assets kind of thing. But I don't really know where you draw the line between a remaster and a remake. So I'm just saying, we'll see. Maybe Metroid Prime 1. I think out of everything I have here, Metroid Prime 1, since it has been rumored so much, is probably the one thing that will show up the most, or more. It's the most likely to show up. On the opposite end of that is the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess like collection or like separate games. I do not think we see that this year. I think if they were gonna come out, they would have came out last year. But I don't think you want to release those the same year as Tears of the Kingdom. They could put it like on Switch next year. We'll talk about what next year may or may not look like in a couple minutes. But they are probably somewhat easy to port, so I don't really know why they haven't gone to Switch yet. But obviously we had those rumors last September, and a lot of people were confident we were going to get it last September, like get the announcement last September. We didn't, so I'm not sure if those are real. They probably are real. They probably did consider remaking or porting those from Wii U to Switch, but I think it's a little late now. Again, we could have 2 doses of Zelda this year. We could have Tears of the Kingdom in May, and then maybe they're the holiday games. I don't know. But I don't think we see those this year. And then the final, technically, like the one that I don't have much say in is the F-Zero, GX. If it's like a GX remaster remake for the Switch, or if it's like a new F-Zero game, I think that's possible. That one has been getting a lot more talk about it, or it's been getting a lot. People have been talking about it a lot more recently. So I'm not really sure but I think F-Zero has been, that series has been silent long enough, so maybe we see it. Maybe there's a real F-Zero game coming out this year or next year or some point, in the near future. I guess we also take into consideration that mostly, first half of 2023 game, like saying, because they haven't always held up to that. There's sometimes been 15 minutes of games that just are not in that range. But I think they'll probably keep it pretty close to that one in this one. So maybe get 2 games that are outside of that range from Nintendo. Or, maybe even just 1, depending on, what exactly that game is. But, I think F-Zero is possible. I think Metroid Prime 1 Remake is possible. I don't think the ports of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are likely to be coming to Switch. At least not this year, or at least not in this direct. Maybe in the future direct, maybe in like June or September, they might want to. They may be, Tears of Kingdom's already out, so they may be more inclined to talk about it at that point. But we'll see. So, this game has been rumored, but I would also like to have this game. A new Donkey Kong. I think that'd be pretty cool. Donkey Kong's such a cool character and such a cool cast of characters that I think they can do a lot with it. Obviously, we already have Tropical Freeze on the Switch, which was a port from the Wii U, so we technically haven't had a Donkey Kong game in close to close to a decade now. I think it came out in 2014, so it's been close to a decade since the last Donkey Kong game. And I mean, there was rumors that the Odyssey team was working on it, so take with that what you will. If Odyssey 2 is real, I guess. If we see Odyssey 2, that rumor is disproved, but I think that would be pretty cool. I don't know if it'd be like a 2D Donkey Kong or like a 3D Donkey Kong, maybe it's a mixture of the two. I kind of would like a Donkey Kong that's in like the same structure as Kirby in the Forgotten Land, or like 3D World, or maybe even Bowser's Fury. But I think that'd be really cool. If there is a Donkey Kong game, I guess I'll start saying this now. I think Metroid Prime 1 Remake could close the direct. I think F-Zero could open a direct. I think Donkey Kong would close a direct. The next game is a 2D Mario, and I'll just say I think that would also close a direct, so I guess we can't get Donkey Kong and 2D Mario in the same direct. But I also think this would be really cool, as long, I think the new Super Mario Brothers series was a little long, in terms of how many games it got, and that's fine. But I do think this would probably be in a new style. They've already ported New Super Mario Bros. U to Switch, so I don't really see a reason why they would need to make another New Super Mario Brothers game. So if we do get a new 2D Mario game this year, I think it's gonna be pretty cool. As long as it's a pretty cool looking art style and the levels are pretty cool, I think that'd be a pretty good announcement. I could see that definitely happening this year with the Mario movie. I think they maybe would want to get a Mario game out there, just capitalize off the movie. I think if they announce a 2D Mario now, though, it'd probably be a little too late to release it right before the movie. Though again, they did announce. Well, no, that was still 4 months. Metroid Dread, but maybe during the summer we see a 2D Mario. Maybe that is our June game. So again, I think that would close the direct if that was the case. And then we Super Mario Odyssey 2. I would like Super Mario Odyssey 2. I mean, my whole channel is named after Cappy, so I think that'd be pretty cool. But again, I think the rumor about the Odyssey team working on Donkey Kong is real, and I think if they're obviously working on Donkey Kong, they can be working on Odyssey 2. I could definitely see maybe Odyssey 2 as or whatever the next 3D Mario game as maybe a little launch title for the next console. But another 3D Mario or Odyssey 2, I don't think that's gonna happen in this direct. Again, if I said I would rate them open and close, maybe in the middle. Odyssey 2 would definitely close the direct. That's just too big, of an announcement to just put it in the middle or to begin the direct with. Because then, if you begin the direct with Odyssey 2, then that probably overshadows everything until maybe the last game. So you'd probably want to close the direct with that. Um, and then the final like Mario titled game that I think could come out this year is Mario Baseball, or like another Mario sports game. Um, I wouldn't have said this. Um, well, I'm still a little iffy on it. Technically, we haven't gotten 2 years in a row with the Switch yet, where we've had two sports games. Well, yes, we did. Never mind. But this year would also be the third. It would be like a third year in that row. We did get Mario Golf and Mario Strikers, but and I guess technically, if Camelot is making Mario Baseball, it would be 2 years. So I guess we could see it. Um, but I don't know if they would want to do 3 years straight of Mario Baseball in the summer, or like Mario Sports in the summer. Um, but if somebody else is working on Mario Baseball, I think it'd be pretty cool. I know Bandai Namco made Mario Sluggers. So if they did make Mario Baseball, like another Mario Baseball game, it would be pretty cool. Um, that's definitely something that's probably like in the middle of a Nintendo Direct. I don't think you open with Mario Baseball. I don't think you close with Mario Baseball. I think that's like a good middle thing. Maybe that's like the first game that they announced out of like a headlines or something. Um, or like right before they talk about Tears of the Kingdom or something. But um, I think Mario Baseball is also probably the most likely Mario sports game, out of any Mario sports. Um, Obviously, we could get like a new Mario Hoops 3-on-3 or like a Mario Hoops 5-on-5 or something like that. But I think, you'd probably want to give that to Square Enix, and so I guess any kind of Mario sports game, I guess at this point, could be announced. They do like putting those in June, so as I mentioned, that could be the June game. A 2D Mario game could be the June game, but I guess we'll have to wait and see on that until the direct happens. I do think at least one of those games is likely. Like at least I think we at least see one Mario game in this direct, outside of Mario Kart and like Mario plus Rabbids. But um, which one it is, I'd probably lean towards another Mario Sports game, and then I'd probably be like a hierarchy of that would probably be like Mario Sports, 2D Mario, and then Super Mario Odyssey, or another 3D Mario. Just because we also just got 2 years ago 3D World and Bowser's Fury, even though that was a port from the Wii U with extra content. I think maybe they might want to wait a little bit longer before they release a new 3D Mario. So Mario Baseball or 2D Mario, I think would be pretty cool. The next game that I have to talk about is Captain Toad, like Captain Toad's sequel. I think are pretty rad. I do talk about Captain Toad a lot on this channel as well, so that is a little biased, but I do think Captain Toad would be a pretty cool, it'd be like a cool breather game. If we don't get another Mario game or like a new Mario game this year, outside maybe a Mario Sports game, I think Captain Toad would be like a good substitute for that, because it has a different play style. Obviously we know the characters in that game, but it is unique. I think we got Captain Toad in like the release year. I think like for the Switch, I think they ported it over from the Wii U during its release, like the Switch's release year. So we got DLC for the game as well, but there's been a long time. It's been a long time since Captain Toad has gotten a new game or like anything associated with it. And maybe if Captain Toad is in the Mario movie, I guess we'll see. If Captain Toad's in there, that'd be like a good segue into a new game. And yeah, another game. We'll just keep listing games, I guess. Is Star Fox, a new game in the Star Fox series. I know that, well, no. I think recently Retro, like one of the directors of Retro Studios, did a interview, and he like revealed like some of the, like they pitched a Star Fox game, and he like revealed some of the stuff about it. And I think that's pretty cool. It sounded pretty cool, but would we get a new Star Fox game this year? I don't think so. They never ported Star Fox Zero to the Switch, and there's probably reasons for that. Outside of the reception of it, it's probably like more difficult to port a game like that uses both the gamepad and the TV screen. But yeah, I don't really think we'll see a Star Fox this year. I think it's a little late for that. Actually, Star Fox Zero I think released in 2016, so technically, I guess Star Fox could come out on the Switch, but I think you would probably just want to save that for another console. I guess, and that's another consideration I guess you have to make. Um, would you want to save another 3D Mario for the next console? Would you want to save the next 2D Mario for the next console? Another Donkey Kong game? Um, and obviously, I mean, we're 7 years, I think, or 6 years. We'll be in the 7th year of Switch in March, so that's something I guess they have to consider um, if they're going to keep any of these games for the next console or so. So yeah, I think Star Fox might be getting like a game in general, like it might be in development, but I don't think we'll see a new Star Fox game this year. And then this game is, I guess I left it out in the rumored section. There is a sequel to 1-2 Switch that I guess we technically know it's real because of the reports saying that they did like game tests, or like with like a test group. They gave the game to a test group and they did not like the game. And apparently, I mean, a lot of people have been saying that they scrapped it, or maybe they will consider putting it as like a free incentive for like Nintendo Switch Online. I think that's possible. Yeah, I think that's something we could see in this direct. Like, that could be something like the Nintendo Switch Sports section in the February 2022 direct, where it comes up randomly. Not a lot of people are expecting to see it because of the reception to it, but it's possible. Depending on what they have this year, I guess that it probably makes it more or less possible, because they might want to just slot that in. Again, if it is a free game for NSO, that's something you probably just slot in and not talk about ever again if it is really that bad. But I guess we'll see about that as well. A game. So now we're getting to games that I don't think have been rumored at all. Because I think Mario Baseball, all the Mario games, Donkey Kong F-Zero, I think all that was rumored at some point. And I guess Kid Icarus technically was rumored at some point. I think right now, more recently, it became rumored because Bandai Namco put out those job listings saying that they're working on remaking a game from the 3DS, or something like that. Maybe a 3D platform or a 3D something for the Switch, or the next whatever console. Maybe another console, maybe the next console. But I know that started a bunch of Kid Icarus rumors. I think it'd be cool if you see Kid Icarus. Kid Icarus is one of my favorite games of all time. Kid Icarus Uprising. If not my favorite game. So I think it'd be pretty awesome to see it. But obviously, I don't know how I feel about an Uprising remake. I mean, any Kid Icarus, I think at this point I would take. But I think I would much prefer a new game, maybe a sequel to Kid Icarus Uprising or something like that. But I don't know if you can also do that without Sakurai's input. Just because he made Kid Icarus Uprising the way that it is, and I don't know if he wants to work on that right now. So I guess we'll see. That's probably out of everything I've said so far, that's probably the least likely thing by far. I think if I would be surprised if we got a Kid Icarus Uprising announcement, or a sequel to that game over Donkey Kong or something like that. I think the rumors are pretty factual about a lot of these games. And then I'll talk about DLC because I've technically skipped over it. And there isn't really many games getting DLCs, so this would be a good section to just, I guess, put it, or could get DLCs, and that's Mario Party Superstars. It would be cool to get DLC. I don't know if it's been a year and a half now, and they've not mentioned DLC at once. So, that's, technically Mario Kart got DLC after 5 years, so I guess they could do DLC, but they are also releasing the original games on NSO N64, so I don't know if that probably lessens the chances, if I'm being honest, about that game getting DLC. But I did want to mention it, just in case it happens. I'd be pretty excited about that, but I don't know, that also probably be kind of limited in terms of, it could probably only have the N64 maps, which there is a lot of them still remaining that they haven't added or, didn't have in the original game. But I think with NSO getting the original games, it is a little more difficult to, justify adding new maps like that, or new boards. But yeah, they were pretty cool. There's Tomodachi Life 2. I think that's pretty cool. Tomodachi Life is a very fun game. But again, I'm not really sure how well Miitopia's remake or like port to the Switch did. I think that probably determines if Tomodachi Life is getting a new game or like a port to the Switch. It'd be really cool, but again, I don't really know. I think it's fairly possible that it happens. You know, Miitopia was a big surprise in 2021 that it was coming to Switch. So, you know, if that game did do well, I think they would do another game, you know, in that general, like using the Miis and stuff in Tomodachi Life 2. And then speaking on that as well, we have Nintendogs. You know, again, I think that's in the same boat as Tomodachi Life. I think we would have gotten Nintendogs by now. You know, Nintendogs was a release game on the Nintendo 3DS, so you know it might be a little late. But again, I know there's a lot of fans for Nintendogs out there, so you know, I don't know how they do critically or you know, in terms of like sales. So you know, if they do well in sales, maybe they would consider going back to doing them. I know in the 3DS, like they had introduced like cats, so I don't know if they would like. I don't know if the reason why they didn't have it released from the Switch is because like they would want to add like another animal or something. But yeah. And then you know, speaking on, you know, animals, I guess Animal Crossing, a new game, a spin-off, not like a new game, but like a spin-off. Amiibo Festival 2, you know, maybe they already technically did a spin-off with the DLC for the New Horizons, but I think that'd be pretty cool. You know, the game, I don't think they expected it to be as popular as it is. But I do think that they, you know, it did become popular in 2020. It is 2023. Maybe they started like some type of spinoff that's ready to release. I guess we would see. I haven't really been saying if games would close or not, like close or open or start a direct. Tomodachi Life would definitely be in the middle. Kid Icarus maybe would open a direct. Nintendogs would definitely be in the middle. Animal Crossing could close a direct. Like if it's a good spin-off, it could definitely close a direct. As I mentioned with the Everybody's 1-2 Switch, that definitely cannot close or open a direct. Would probably be in the middle. Same thing with Star Fox. I think Star Fox would be as an opener. And yeah. And then obviously there's a lot of games. I don't think. Well, I haven't even spoken about Pokemon at all. I don't think Pokemon shows up at all in this direct unless it is to show off NSO getting Pokemon Stadium, like a release date for that. They do probably have an event in roughly around 3 weeks that they, you know, Pokemon Day. So I don't think that they would show up here. If they have Scarlet and Violet DLC, that's probably going to be in the Pokemon Day Presents. Any new spin-offs, probably there. You know, Pokemon Sleep maybe. Pokemon, you know, Detective Pikachu 2, something like that. I think any of that would be in a Pokemon Presents. And they, ever since they started Pokemon Presents, and moved away from like Nintendo Direct branding for their Pokemon events, they haven't actually really been in Nintendo Directs like at all. So I wouldn't be surprised, you know, if we don't get anything for Pokemon in like this direct or like any direct for the rest of the year. Just because they really like doing Pokemon Presents, and you know, and that kind of separates from directs and allows them to do a lot more in terms of like marketing and like merchandising for the series. That you can't really do in Pokemon and Nintendo Directs. Nintendo Directs are, you know, pretty much only focused on, you know, one time last year we got Pikmin Bloom mentioned in Nintendo Direct, a mobile game, but you don't usually see that. It's usually focused like on Nintendo console games. So, you know, I think Pokemon Presents probably also work out better for the Pokemon Company overall. So that's pretty much all I had on my list of like stuff, again, like games to talk about. I did have ARMS 2, but I don't think ARMS 2... I think that's the team that makes Mario Kart. And obviously if they're working on Mario Kart DLC right now, I don't think that they would be able... Which I also could explain why it took a lot long to make Mario Kart DLC. Because they, you know... they were making ARMS. But I don't think ARMS 2 is coming out. That could be like another game, like for the next console. But I think it's like... You know, they've already released ARMS. You know, you want to give it a revival. I think giving it a good entry on the next console would do wonders for the series. You know, especially if it's like a launch game, or like near launch, like they did with ARMS. And then I had Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 4, just because Nintendo published Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. they did end it on like a cliffhanger, so or like that where they can continue it. So I get, and it did sell well. I think it sold into the millions. So they could be working on it. I think Team Ninja is a little busy. I think that's the devs for the game. Um, so, but I think it would be like that. That's like a thing that I think you can announce like small, like it's a small announcement. It could probably be one of the headlines that Nintendo's publishing. Marvel Ultimate S4. I don't think this. The weird thing about Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and this is like a little bit of like a ramble, but I don't think Marvel Ultimate Alliance can actually go on any other console at this point, because 3 was exclusive to Switch, and unless Nintendo like allows them, I think that's how it works. Like Nintendo would have to allow them to go third party with that, and I don't know if they would, because I don't know how that works, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much all the games I had said. I had listed. But I did want to talk about one more thing, and that is the Nintendo Switch revision, or like the next console. Just a little bit, because I don't think we're gonna get it in this direct, but just talk a little bit about it, because technically I did already mention a lot of these big games could be just going straight to that one. So yeah, Nintendo Switch revision. Obviously, I don't think that's gonna happen, but I do think the next console will be something similar to the Switch. I think they've got a good foothold, or like they've pretty much cornered the hybrid market when it comes to like gaming consoles. So I think it'd be pretty difficult to leave that. I mean, obviously Nintendo can Nintendo, but I mean, I think it will be like just a more powerful Nintendo Switch. Like obviously, probably have a different form factor. Maybe we'll have a bigger screen, something like that. But maybe you have like the OLED screen that the Nintendo Switch OLED has. But I mean, maybe we'll get new Joy-Con, something like that. But I think that's interesting. I guess it's an interesting thing. I don't think we're gonna see that. We probably won't see that until maybe the end of this year, early next year. If it is, I mean, I don't know when Nintendo plans to launch it. I think if they do plan to launch it during the spring next year, I think the latest they could probably wait is January for like a May release. But that's the Switch did really well in March, so. But obviously, I don't think they also probably don't want to announce it this year, because that would probably kill Switch sales for the holidays this year. But yeah, I did realize I forgot to talk about one game, or two games, one game at least, and that is Nintendo Switch Sports for updates. I think I was actually going to include that in the known games. We don't know if it's going to get any more updates. They just released an update for like collections, and I think if it was going to be in this direct, they would have saved that update. But they also had to update the game because it did run out of content, according to the data mines at least. They did run out of content, so they did have to add more collections. But maybe they talk about they're adding a new sport. But again, that's something that can just like go into the direct as like a small little headline or something. But yeah, there's not really any more games I don't think that's going to get updates. Obviously, there's a lot of other games that I did not talk about in this video that may be rumored. There's the good thing about Nintendo Directs is there's always surprises. Mario Strikers was a surprise last February. I don't remember. Pikmin 4 was a surprise in September, even though we technically already knew what Pikmin 4 for like years. But Pikmin 4 was a surprise last September. The June Directs in the June Direct in 2021. I think the big surprise was Advance Wars, the November one, even though they leaked it themselves by accident, I guess. The Kirby game, like Kirby Forgotten Land, and so the big thing about Nintendo Direct is the surprises, and there's at least going to be one surprise in this one. Doug Bowser did go around saying to get your bingo cards ready, so I think that's pretty big. Like, I don't think Nintendo presidents or Nintendo higher ups tweet like that. So you telling them to get your bingo cards ready. That means there's probably at least one big thing in this direct, and probably one thing that a lot of people aren't expecting. Maybe that is the Switch revision. I mean, who knows, right? But yeah. I mean, I think this direct's gonna be really good. It is gonna be roughly 40 minutes. So that's how long most directs have been recently, around that 40-minute mark. Um, and yeah, so that's all I pretty much have for this video. I'm not really sure what else to talk about in that. Like, there's not really much. I mean, the only thing I didn't really mention about Metroid Prime 1 was the fact that there was also rumors that it was a trilogy that was getting ported to Switch, and then they went to remake the first one. Like, the rumors shifted to that. So maybe Metroid Prime trilogy is real. But yeah, I think that is about it. You know, again, there's probably a bunch of games I did not mention. So if you have watched up to this point, comment something down below that you think will be in the direct that I did not mention, or maybe if you agree that something in this list that I mentioned will be in the direct, you know, talk about it. But yeah, thank you all for watching this video. Make sure to do what makes you happy, because that rhymes with generic happy, and I'll see you all in the next one. I think I'll record my reaction to the Nintendo Direct, so I'll see you all in that one. Until next time, good.